Good morning. This is Dylan Jovine with Behind the Markets. Happy Tuesday. Today I want to talk about telephone and data systems, which is a stock that we recommended in Takeover Targets a while back. The stock jumped and we got a lot of emails and questions this weekend, really on Friday and Saturday, about telephone and data systems. The stock jumped 15% on Friday to $29.15 against our recommended price of about 16 bucks. It's up almost 100% now. And this is an interesting thing to talk about, and I recommend holding it for now, and Takeover Targets members will get further instructions on what we're going to do with this position. But this is a very interesting thing, and I thought there was a good business lesson in this. So those of you guys who are from Chicago, you've heard of US Cellular, right? It's a Midwest firm, has about 4.5, 5 million cell phone subscribers, people that use their cell phone services. The problem is US Cellular, Telephone and Data Systems, TDS, owns 80% of US Cellular. So on Friday, US Cellular said that they sold Spectrum, part of their phone network, to Verizon for $1 billion. And the shares jumped because we recommended telephone and data systems with the hope that US Cellular would basically sell off their assets to big phone companies and get out of business. They are too small to compete. And just to give you an idea of this, and this is where it's an interesting business lesson. US Cellular has 4.7 million customers. Again, Chicago folks, you guys know what I'm talking about, the Midwest. Compare that to AT&T, which has 221 million subscribers. Verizon, which has 143 million subscribers. T-Mobile, which has 113 million subscribers. So think about it this way. Let's say that the government is selling Spectrum, auctioning off Spectrum, let's say for 5G for a phone, so we can make faster, better phone calls. Now, when you have 200 million, 150 million subscribers, you have so much cash flow coming in that you can bid higher on the Spectrum that the government is auctioning off. When you only have 4.7 million subscribers, you don't have enough capital to bid higher for the Spectrum that the government is auctioning off. So what happens is the big companies, in this case AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, start to gap open competitively in front of you, and you get left behind using more and more of your precious resources just to keep up. That is a very bad position to be in. Now, what we've noticed is that the management of TDS and US Cellular, these guys, the Carlson family, basically, they didn't want to sell. Now, Wall Street has been pushing TDS, the company we recommended, to sell US Cellular, the company that it owns, for years. We're like, guys, you cannot compete. You don't have the scale to compete with the big three, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. You just don't have the scale to compete. So Wall Street has been pushing them to sell. And what is great about the news that came out on Friday, which sent the stock of TDS up big time, is that they're finally, this is like the white flag of surrender. When you start selling your Spectrum, you're basically putting up the white flag and saying, all right, we're not building out next generation networks. We're not building out what we need to build out to keep competing. We are actually going to sell this business off in pieces. Now, this is very good for us. It's given us a nice profit in Takeover Targets, but I actually believe there's more upside here. I wouldn't be buying it up here because who knows, anything could happen, and certainly this market's a little overvalued. But at 16 bucks a share was a great buy. At 30 bucks a share, it's a hold, and let's see what we got going on here. If you look at the breakup value of the company of US Cellular, we could see, seriously, I'm just looking at my notes here, we could see this thing going to 38, 40 bucks a share if you break this up into pieces at the right price. So that even would be almost a double from today's price. Not double, it's up 35%. At Takeover Targets, I will instruct you on what we do with our shares and take a TDS. You know, we'll probably start to liquidate a little bit of it in the coming days and weeks, maybe, and ride it out and see what we could do with the rest of it. But I just wanted to say this has been great news for members of Takeover Targets, and it's a very important lesson on business. In every industry in the world, you have, let's say, you have 10 companies competing, and the 1, 2, and 3 are often the most dominant. It makes it almost impossible when a size gap gets that big, meaning that 1, 2, and 3 players have over 100 million subscribers each. and you are like a number 5 or 6 player with 4.5, 5 million subscribers, you cannot compete with that. The scale of the big companies just kills you. And it's funny, we're watching that happen right now in a lot of industries, really, but specifically like in streaming. Like you're watching Amazon, Netflix, Apple TV actually blow away the old studios like Paramount, MGM. These guys have so much cash, they can just bid up the prices they will pay for original programming, new streaming shows. And the small studios, they just can't compete. So the small studios are selling off to the big guys, ultimately, because they just outcash them, they just outmuscle them. So this is a very interesting and important lesson to learn in business, when to put up the white flag and say, we can't compete. Uncle, we've gotten our butts kicked for so many years. We are done. The illusion that we can compete with the big three is over. And I am so happy that the management of US Cellular, the Carlson family, actually finally said, we're done. We're out. Anyway, have a wonderful day.